Yo, what's good, Next Gen Amolytics? Today we'll be speaking about Week 4 of the NFL. I'll give a little recap of last week and then we'll move forward. Firstly, we had Bucky Irvin over 70.5 rushing yards. He did not cover that. He had 66. Game script got kind of weird there. They were up quite a bit at halftime, which I thought they would be. Positive game script. They run the ball second half of the game. However, they allowed the Jets to come back, in which it turned to a negative game script for them, and they had to drive the field in order to win the game. That time, I thought it would be Bucky just getting his rushes in. He did have 20 plus rushes, so I still expect him to cover this line. However, Jets were loading the box against the Bucks. And then we had CeeDee Lamb over 81.5 receiving yards. He ended up getting injured within the first quarter. For some reason, Dallas wanted to run a stretch play or sweep there with him, injured his ankles, out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And our touchdown play was Bucky Irvin, who did not score, and Kenneth Walker, who did score, however, that was parlayed, so that did not hit. Then took a chance on Houston at plus money on the road against Jacksonville. Were within striking distance the entire game, ended up losing 17-10, just could not get it done. On this week, I like 5 player props and 2 touchdown plays. Firstly, I like Garrett Wilson over 5.5 receptions. Against Miami here, a defense who's allowing a 78% completion rate. Garrett Wilson's leading the league right now with target share being 39%. This is a spot where he should go crazy, and it's a neutral game script, if not negative game script for the Jets, in which they're going to have to pass the ball at Miami. This is a spot for him. He's going to see the targets. It's going to be a game where they have to pass the ball. This is a spam Wilson with target spot. Next up, I like Puka of the Rams going against the Colts. Over 94.5 receiving yards. This line is entirely too low. He's killed this line twice. He had 130 against Houston, 112 against Philly, and then had 91 against Tennessee. Way too low. Their best DB being the Colts, Moore, is out. They're not good overall as far as a defense. They're not getting much pressure on the QB. You're going to allow Stafford to sit back there and pick them apart, and is going to go to Puka, and I don't believe they have anyone to stop him at all. Next up, I like Nico Collins, over 71.5 receiving yards. Going against his Titan teams who's not generating pressure against the quarterback. That's the main problem in Houston right now. Stroud does not have an offensive line, and you have a Tennessee team who has a 1.9% sack rate. So you allow Stroud to sit back there. He's going to go to Nico. In order for them to win this game goes through him and Nico at home. Both teams 0-3, trying to salvage a win. It goes to Nico, and I believe that he covers the 71.5 receiving line. Next up, I like Josh Allen over 216 passing yards. This is a spot where I believe the line has adjusted way too much. His normal line is around 238.5 to 240.5, and they adjusted 216.5 against the Saints team, who I understand that Buffalo should be in a positive game script. The spread right now is like 16.5 going towards Buffalo. However, New Orleans is quite decent against the run. I'm not going to say they're going to stop Buffalo from running the ball, but might make it difficult, might have Buffalo, in some down and distances where they have to pass the ball. And so I believe this is a spot for Allen to cover. I believe he may cover this in the first half, to be honest, and maybe that second half they just run the ball. And how fast-paced that New Orleans offense is, not necessarily saying they're good by any means, but they're fast-paced. This is a game where Allen may have some spots where he has to pass the ball, as I mentioned. So this adjusted way too much for me. Over 20-plus yards at home in a spot where they don't necessarily have a good passing defense either. I like this for Allen. And then lastly, I like Caleb Williams over 227 passing yards against Vegas. His line last week was 237.5 against Dallas. Vegas defense is not much better than Dallas at all. I believe they're top 5, top 10 in completion percentage allowed, as well as passing yards allowed. So in a spot where it should be a shootout across both teams, both defenses are not good. I like Williams to get it done over 227.5. Has been over 200 in all games this year. He had 210, 207, and then last week against Dallas, he had 298. But those are my player props. And then my touchdown plays, I like J.K. Dobbins of Denver going against Cincinnati, who's given up, I believe, 4 rushing touchdowns, if not 3. This should be a game where the Broncos are up for the most part of the game. Dobbins is receiving a whole bunch of red zone carries, I believe 8 total. And this is a spot for him to score here against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, who has not looked good. Then I have Josh Jacobs against Dallas. He scored in his last 9 out of 10 games. Did not score last week. That was his first one since, I believe, November 16th of last year, going against his Dallas defense, who has not stopped anyone. Once Green Bay gets to that red zone, it's going to Jacobs, in which I like, and that's what I'm gonna go with there. I'm gonna pair those two together for a parlay for that touchdown. But those are my player props. Those are my anytime touchdowns. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, comment any lines, any player props that I'm not going over that you may like, you may want to hear or have me speak about. I don't necessarily have to choose to play, but if it's something that you want me to speak about, please let me know.